Today I'll be doing a short film review on the movie There Will Be Blood. The movie follows a man named Daniel who starts off as a silver prospector but breaks his leg and ultimately decides that he doesn't want to do that anymore and he craves for a brighter and bigger future, eventually deciding that he wants to move west with the oil boom and become an oil well entrepreneur. He eventually finds a place to do this, which would be a small town run by a priest, Eli, who is just as money hungry and hungry for power as Daniel, although he's willing to do a little bit less to get it. Eventually, Daniel builds his oil wells and rigs, and one of them explodes, leading him to take in a child that was orphaned by this event, who he uses to further his business ventures, and not out of the kindness of his own heart, as he ultimately decides that it would look better for him to be a father-son duo trying to do better for his son compared to a greedy businessman. Daniel kills a few people throughout the movie, one being a drifter and the other ultimately being Eli, as Eli decides that he wants Daniel's money and power and it does not end well for him. The genre of this movie is that it is a movie that contains all of the classic Western elements, but where they lay are flipped and how they are interpreted are flipped, which we will touch on later. The main things that it includes from a Western is a new frontier aspect, the lone wolf character, and also the token religious figure. It also includes a lot of those muted color palettes that you see in this slide, as well as wide-angle shots to get views of the landscape. The form of the movie is that it is a pretty linear movie. It does not jump back and forward to the past and future, but instead progresses in one straight line, hitting every cinematic point of Daniel's life, and it only jumps to get rid of that dead space in between the events that happen. The movie, again, does incorporate a lot of those traditional Western wide-angle shots, and funny enough, which I find very interesting, the movie does like to play a lot on not having as much dialogue as other movies, which was a cooperation between actor Daniel Day-Lewis and the director, as they believed that the movie would give off more ambiance as well as pay more homage to the original book and portray the message more if there was less dialogue and instead focused on the musical scoring and the acting of the actors themselves. The historical significance of the movie There Will Be Blood is that it's one of the first anti-westerns. An anti-western is a movie that incorporates all of the traditional western themes technically, but the rules and what we place emphasis on in those roles are flipped. For instance, in There Will Be Blood, the new frontier is not a prairie, but it is in fact an oil field. The hero is not a hero except to himself and his business ventures, and the religious figure is inherently corrupt instead of inherently pure like we see in most westerns. There's also not any remnants of a happy ending, there's just an ending. This also ties into the social aspects as it made people focus on the cons of things such as rapid expansion, oil booms, and capitalism. This ties in again to the significance with the people, as people like to take a look at how the rich and powerful get their money, especially in movies where it shows that those rich and powerful people don't get their money by being good people, but in fact get their money by taking that wealth from others to accumulate it towards themselves. This hence sparked discussion on American dream versus the ethics you have to sacrifice to get it, as well as morals versus getting profit in both the business world as well as in religious settings. There Will Be Blood and Oil by Upton Sinclair are a great duo to look at for the film analysis, which I chose chapter 13, Adaptations, because it really shows how a movie adaptation of something, even something that's already been written, can be its own unique thing. For instance, both Oil by Upton Sinclair and the movie There Will Be Blood focus on the downfalls and dirty sides of capitalism. However, Oil by Upton Sinclair was actually meant to show people about the inherent need for both socialism as well as worker and labor reform in order to protect both the working class and the environment. A plot that you would not get by watching the movie There Will Be Blood, which took about the first 100 pages or so of the book Oil and chose to focus instead on one man's capitalistic venture, while also playing on how people use the father, son, and family trope to advance their wealth and their positions of power. I would show you the clip, but it will not let me. Feel free to go back to any of the other slides, and I hope that you like learning about the movie There Will Be Blood and its origins of oil as much as I enjoyed presenting it. Before we end, I do want to make sure that I cite my works cited. The first one, if you want to get more information, is about the movie There Will Be Blood. The second citation is about how the movie There Will Be Blood does originate from the novel Oil. And the third one is an expansion on the book Oil by Upton Sinclair.